I've got to tell you guys, I absolutely love my Frunk. I wouldn't have named this video series after it if I didn't. It's honestly become my go-to spot for all my leftover food. You know what I'm talking about. You go to the restaurant, get some amazing food, want to bring the leftovers home, but you don't want to stink up the car. So you throw them in the Frunk, problem averted. But the one thing about the Frunk is that unlike our rear compartment, it's not motorized, which makes using it a little bit inconvenient because, well, you got to go ahead and open your app, open the Frunk, and then of course, once it opens, then you've got to manually open it. And if you have your hands full of groceries or leftovers, then that whole process can be a little inconvenient. But our friends over at Tesstudios, well, they've developed a solution for that with their newest and most recent Power Frunk. So in today's video, we're gonna go ahead and unbox it. I'm gonna show you everything that's included with their latest kit, and then I'm gonna show you how to install it. So let's go ahead and get this thing open and see what's inside. Come join me. So as you guys can see right inside, you have your two power struts right here, one for each side. We have our module, the brain that makes everything function. You have your latch mechanism. Here you have your wiring harness and of course all of your connections. It looks like we have our repositioning brackets here, which we'll use when we install our new power struts. And then, of course, we have our safety mechanism here along with our front button for the inside. So now that we have everything and we're familiar with everything in the box, let's go ahead and get this bad boy installed. All right, guys, so the first thing we're going to want to go ahead and do is take off all of this plastic covers here. They pop right off. You just got to gently pull up on them. They're all in with clips, and we can go ahead and pull this right off, pull it off to the side in a safe place where they won't get damaged. Now the next thing is we need to take out our frunk space here. So you want to go ahead and grab yourself a drill with a 10mm socket wrench so that you can slowly just pull these off. Here you have a bolt right here, here, and then you have two more bolts inside here on the frunk space. So let's go ahead and get these taken off. All right, and now that those are off, we should be able to go ahead and just pull out our frunk. This should just pop up as well, just like that. Now, before we pull this off, we do have a little compartment right here that we want to pull off. So let me show you guys what that looks like. All right, so these are the 4 screws that I just went ahead and took off, the 2 down here, and of course the 2 that we have up here. Now, in order to be able to remove this little panel that you can see here needs to come out. So you can just pop this right off, just like that. And what we're going to want to do is just remove this here. Now, this does require a little pry tool, which I do have. So let me go ahead and grab that so I can easily remove this from our panel here. All right, so take this, we'll poke this little guy right here, and that should allow me to just easily remove it. Now we can just put this panel to the side as well. All right, so now that we have that off, guys, we can gently remove our frunk. This just pops right out, and we can also just put this to a corner out of our way. Now the next thing we want to remove, guys, is this piece right here, and you have 2 screws that you need to remove, this one on this side and this one right here on this side. So let me go ahead and grab my drill. I believe this is also a 10mm, and just like that, all right. Now we should be able to just pull this up, and again, we'll put this to the side. So now the next step is we need to replace our original struts, are obviously manual struts that we have on both sides here. We need to replace those with our power struts. So we're going to need to replace those, but at the same time, we also want to get ourselves a marker so that we can mark where our latch mechanism is. This way, when we replace that, we can replace it exactly where this one is, so we don't have to worry about realigning our top bracket with our power mechanism that we're going to be replacing our factory one with. So I went ahead and got myself some painter's tape, nice wide painter's tape, which I'm going to be using along these edges of the car here. I'm going to be putting it along there just to protect from any type of scratches or dings in case a tool gets loose out of my hand or something. And then I got myself a paint marker, a Sharpie paint marker, and I'm going to be using this to essentially paint a line around this bracket right here. This way, when we go ahead and remove it and install our Power Frunk bracket, we can easily align the bracket, reinstall it without having to spend hours aligning it again with our top bracket. So it's just going to save us some time. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get started with that and just draw my lines around here. And just like this, like I said, it's going to just make it that much easier for us. Later on when we go to reapply it. And we can always take this off later on, guys, with some acetone if you really want to. Otherwise, it's really no big deal in my opinion, but that'll save us some time there. Now I'll go ahead and take this tape, and like I said before, and I just want to protect this side here because it's pretty much where we're going to be working once we remove these struts here. And this way we don't have to worry about if a tool gets loose or something, it's scratching up this area here. And we'll do the same thing on this side. All right, and at least that gives us a little bit of protection there. Now let's go ahead and remove those struts and replace it with our power struts. Now a quick tip for you guys, if you don't have anybody to help by holding up the actual bonnet while you're removing your struts, then what you might want to be able to do, like what I'm doing, is this is actually a broomstick, but it's the perfect size because I'll be able to put the bottom part here, and then I can simply just put it right there. And now, as soon as I remove those the struts in order to install the power struts, I don't have to worry about somebody holding it for me. So if you don't have something like that and you have a friend, that's even better. But anyways, now that we have this propped up, let's go ahead and work on getting these struts out. All right, guys, so a lot of videos don't show you really how to take these things off. And if you've never done this before, it can get a little complicated and really frustrating really quick. So I want to show you guys how easy it is to take them off if you know what you're looking for. So these struts have this little notch right here. And all you have to do is grab yourself a really small, thin, flathead screwdriver and just try to pry it right here from the top and pull back. Essentially what you have here, guys, is a band. And this band, as you can see, is what's securing it to the actual vehicle. It's what secures the strut to the vehicle. So if you can just pry this up a little bit, then that's what's going to go ahead, guys, and allow you to, remove it from the car. Same thing here at the bottom. You can just, from the top to the bottom, you just pry here, and the same thing. The band will come out, and you'll be able to remove the bottom of the strut from the bottom of the car. So now that you know how to do that, it should be pretty simple to get both of them done. Once you remove both of them, now we can go ahead and move forward to installing our brackets so that we can install our power struts and then move along to the next step. So let's get that done. You're going to want to go ahead and grab yourself a wrench, and I believe it's a 13, and you're going to want to remove that silver little spike that your strut would connect to. This guy right down here, you're going to want to remove him. Now once you go ahead and loosen it a little bit, then it'll allow you to just remove the rest by hand. And once you do that, you'll end up with this screw right here. So remove that on that side, and now we can go ahead and install our bracket. So let's get to it. So now we're going to install these brackets. Now one thing to be mindful of is that the brackets are marked with an R and an L, obviously signifying right or left. But one thing to be mindful of is that this marking is indicated as if you were sitting inside of the car. So the right bracket is going to correspond to the passenger side, while your left bracket is going to be the driver's side. And I'm just going to set this here so you can see how it looks on camera. So I'm going to set it down here. And as you can see here, that is how it's supposed to sit with the bracket there to the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that there. And once you have that there, there is a screw. It's a little bit sitting a little bit low. Let me see if I can adjust it for you guys so you can see. But there is the actual original pilot hole there that was from the previous one. But we're going to go ahead and screw that in there and adjust it. And then we can go ahead and attach our Power struts. So let's go ahead and get that done. Now I'm going to be using a little small socket wrench with this little hex key attachment. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten this guy up. Now, when it comes to the power struts, it really doesn't matter which power strut you grab. There is no specific left or right, so just go ahead and grab one, and then we'll go ahead and install them. And these are pretty simple. You might have to adjust them and turn them around a little bit so that the mouthpiece is where it needs to be, but they just snap right in. Super easy, plug and play. And once you have them in there and everything is good, now we're just going to run these cables underneath here. And once we pass these through, so we can get them out of center, we'll leave them right here for now until we get to the point where we want to wire everything in. So now let's get the other strut all installed. All right, so same process here, guys. We take our strut, thicker part to the bottom. We'll grab our cable here, so we can get out of our way. And like I said, what you want to make sure is that these are where you need them. You can adjust it by rotating it. So this one will be on the inside, and then this one you want it towards the outside. Okay. And there you have it. Now we've got our power struts installed. So now let's move on to the next step. All right, so now that we're done installing all of our power struts, now we can go ahead and remove our bar here since we no longer need it, and set that to the side. And now what we need to do, guys, is of course, we need to remove our OEM latch from the vehicle, which, as you know, we previously marked it with our red marker to make sure it is where it is. So when we reinstall it after installing our Power Frunk latch, we can then make sure that it's properly aligned where we marked it, so that we don't have to then worry about aligning it with this top latch right here. So let's go ahead and grab our drill. We will remove these two screws right here. You have two on both sides. All right. All right, and now once we remove these two screws, guys, make sure that you go ahead and put them to the side so that we don't lose them. All right, so now once we've gone ahead and put our screws away, now what you want to go ahead and do is, you see this spring right here, you want to take a good mental note of how it is placed, because what we're going to want to do is, we're going to want to remove this spring, because our front mechanism, which we have right here, you'll notice it has two different wires that come along. This is going to be your emergency wire, which we'll run in a second, the one with the yellow pull string, and then this is our Power Frunk latch. This is what makes it soft close, and this is what obviously, you know, allows it to pop and everything like that. So what you want to do, and here if you want to come a little closer here, I can show you guys this little guy right here. We're going to put that right over this silver pin. So this will go over that. But in order to do that, we do need to remove that so that this can go below the spring. So I'm going to show you guys what we're going to do. You'll go ahead, grab ourselves some pliers, and we would just take the spring from here and we will just move it to the side, just like that, right? Now we will take our bracket. The bracket gets placed behind our OEM bracket like that, right? Then you take what I showed you before, that you will place it right here over, right? Once you've placed that, grab your pliers once again. We'll grab our spring, and then the job is to just get it right over that, just like that. Once you've done that, guys, now we're ready to go ahead and just screw this back in. So go ahead and grab your screws, and we will put those back. Now, one thing to keep in mind, guys, right now, I am not going to be super concerned about tightening this really tight or, you know, lining it up with the lines that we created before. Right now, I'm just going to put the screws in just to keep it in place so that we can move on with wiring the rest of the car. Once we wire all that up, then we're good to go. We'll do some tests and go from there. All right. So now that we've got this done, guys, one thing about this is we don't want a lot of kinking in these particular wires, right? You want to keep these runs as straight as possible, because if you have it too kinked like this or something like that, over time you're just going to damage this unit. You're going to either tear the cable or it's going to start to malfunction. So for that reason, this is something that we're going to try to keep down here. We'll mount it later somewhere where we try to keep it, like I said, as straight as possible. And then this, we're going to run underneath here, and it's going to come out of our toe area, but we'll worry about that later. Right now, what we'll do is we'll finish our wiring and go from there. So the next step for that, of course, that we're going to do first is we are going to go ahead and plug in our power cable, which is going to be right here. So I'm going to go grab the power cable, and I'll show you guys how to do that. The first thing you're going to want to do, of course, is locate where your power is. I do have a 2024 Model Y Performance, and my power is right here. This is where I'm going to grab power from. Now, one thing I like to do is try to keep my installs as clean as possible. So I'm actually, rather than just putting this right here like you see in most videos and just let this dangle out, which is perfectly fine, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to snake this through right here behind and bring it inside of the sleeve. And the reason I like to do that, guys, is because it gives you more of a cleaner look install. Not to mention, I know Tesla tends to have a hard-on for accessories, where when they do any type of maintenance, I've heard where they tend to disconnect people's accessories. So by putting it like this, it looks a little more factory, a little out of sight, out of mind. Now you'll grab the the lug that Tesstudio is included in the box, and we'll just go ahead and screw that one on and just tighten this up. And once you've done that, we're all set here with our power. All right. Now I'll grab myself a nice wrench here and just tighten this up a little bit. Make sure you have a nice, good connection. All right. Now once that's tightened up, go ahead and just put this back on here. Keep it nice and clean. Boom. Now you don't even see it there, and we have our access here. Now we'll go ahead and do our ground. So our ground is right here as part of our harness, and then of course you have the brain that makes everything function. Now, I will say this is their latest version. They've done a much better job at waterproofing. You can see it here in the main plug as well, where you have a lot of, waterproofing grommets to make sure that that's not an issue. But, I've seen in a lot of videos where people mount these brains really low in the car. They try to get them really out of sight, out of mind. But the problem with that, guys, is that, believe it or not, water still gets down here. So you do want to make sure that even though this is waterproof, that we put it somewhere where, it's less likely to come into contact with water, even though it is waterproof. So I'm actually going to mount mine up here somewhere, up in this area. So for that reason, what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep myself for that by running my harness, my plug, underneath and up this way here, and get it again, out of my way. All right. And then once I have this here where I need it, I'm just going to go ahead and plug this bad boy in just so I can work That way, and you'll hear it. Don't push it too hard, guys. Make sure it's properly aligned. You'll hear it clip in. And now I can set this right here, which is more or less where I'm gonna mount it, somewhere in this area. And now we have our cables to work with. So we can try to keep this clean. And of course, later on, I will, take my time zip tying this and cleaning it all up. So, all right, now the first cable we're gonna go ahead and do is we will work on that ground cable, like I said before. This cable right here that you'll see with the little clip, this is our power cable, which will plug in here. We'll do that at the end. So I'll just set this aside. Our next cable that looks very similar, you'll see it has a little connection here, which makes it very easy to put under a screw. You'll identify a ground area. I'm gonna ground it right here. It'll be really easy. If you wanna come around, I'll show you exactly where it is. But there's already a clip here that makes it really easy. I'm just gonna go ahead and grab my 10mm right here. And we will just loosen this a little bit. Don't have to loosen it too much, just enough to get underneath here. I will, again, bring this cable up and underneath just to keep it as clean as possible. Put it underneath my screw here, and then we'll just simply tighten it back down. And just like that, our ground is done. Now, out of sight, out of mind. All right, guys, so now that we're done with our grounding, now our next step is to, of course, plug in both of our power struts. Now, I've already ran the cables, as you guys saw earlier when we installed them. One is here for the passenger side. The other one comes right around there, and I also have it coming right here. So these are our two Power Frunk cables, as you can see. And what you want to identify on your harness that came, obviously, or your wiring harness, you want to identify the two plugs that go into our struts. Now you're going to have one that's shorter and one that's longer. They both have two heads on them, one wider, one a little bit squared off. The shortest one is going to be your driver's side because obviously we're going to be mounting our module closest to the driver's side. So that's the one you're going to use for your driver's side struts. And we'll just simply plug and play them in just like this. You'll hear them clip in. And once they do, you're good there. And we will, again, we'll clean this up later on, but that one will tuck in back here. And then we identify the other one, which is right here. Grab our cable as well. And once again, plug in that one, and we'll plug in this one. And once we're done with our two struts, now what we got to do is identify these three cables and get these plugged in, right? So the first thing you want to notice is you're going to have one's a little bit shorter than the other two are a little bit longer. This one right here, the oval dish one, that's going to plug in right here into our Power Frunk latch, and we'll plug that in towards the end once we get this because we need a little more slack for that one. Then of course you have these two. Now this one right here that you see is kind of daisy changed. This one is going to go to our original latch modulator, the module that used to pop the trunk before. This one back here, we're essentially, which I already unplugged it, but you're going to unplug this guy right here, right? Then with this pigtailed one, we will plug in what we removed into our female version here and plug that in. You'll hear it snap in. And then just like that, we'll go ahead and plug this one in here. Now, I will tell you guys, out of all the cables that we're going to be running, this one right here, we want to give it as much slack as possible. And we want it to just lay here at the bottom of our bed. The reason for that is that our frunk compartment, right, our frunk tub is going to go back in here. So you don't want to stretch that cable out and essentially end up putting strain on it once we put our tub in. So leave that cable. You don't need to get too crazy. Don't overthink it. Just make sure it's, loose and flush against the bottom there. All right, so now that we've got that one done, now we'll get these two final cables done. This one right here is going to go to our actual Frunk module here, the motor. And that one just simply plugs in right here. Again, just line it up, make sure you have the clips properly. And then once you do that, you'll hear it once again. It will just clip in. And you'll see, guys, you've got a snap in here at the top and two on the side. So once it clips in, you're good there. We'll put that to the side. Once we're done with this cable, last but not least, we have these two left from our actual wiring harness. This one right here is actually going to go to the button. Some kits come, I know the Tesstudio kits, this latest one comes with this button right here. which we will just simply plug in just like that. But some other kits I have seen come with a little speaker, I guess like a little warning speaker, but for whatever reason, this one came with a little button as well. And lastly, we have this plug right here, which of course, this plug is the one that's going to plug right here into our harness, just like this. All right, once that plugs in, we're good there. Now we just have the cables that originally came with the car, right? So what we're going to do there is that this guy is going to plug in originally where it went, right in the back. And the reason you don't want to attach this too much, guys, is because as you can see, it's really tight to plug these cables in here. They can get really tight, which is why we don't want to screw these in too much, so that we can have a little wiggle room. And now I can get in here much easier, as you can see, to plug this in. All right, just like that. And now I can go ahead and this one will plug in when we reinstall our bin. This goes into the plug that we removed on that panel. But now what we want to go ahead and do is, now we'll align our bracket here to the lines that we previously had drawn on here. And once we've aligned that nicely, we'll go ahead and grab our drill and we will tighten it. Make sure it's good all around. All right. Now that we've gotten that done, now all that's left, guys, is to go ahead and plug in our power. And once we do that, if we've done this right, then we should theoretically get our power indicator, which is this button here, should light up. So let's go ahead and plug in our power. All right, and just like that, we've got our little red light, which means that we've successfully, you can see it kind of there, it means that we have power. So we've successfully wired everything up. So now let me pull these things out of here. Okay, and now what we'll do, guys, is we will go ahead and run our emergency latch release to the bottom here, and then we can go ahead and test this thing out. So what you're going to want to go ahead and do is grab your emergency release, right? And we're going to tuck this in down this way. But in order to be able to get this out of the car, we actually need to remove this little cover right here. And the best way and easiest way to do that is just take your finger, push right here in the right corner, it'll pop out, and then these will come out. And what this is right here, guys, these are how you would originally pop the hood. You would just put these to a battery and it would pop. But now what we're going to go ahead and do is we will run this cable, bring it out this hole here, and we'll connect it to that. So this way we can access it, have access to it next time we need to, you know, pop the car. So now what I suggest, guys, is remove these two right here, you know, squeeze this, you should be able to pull these two out. Put your latch right here behind it, right? So this way, you know, you're behind there. And then just take these and just put them back like they were. And at least this way, you're kind of locking it in place. If you wanted to, you could also go ahead and just, you know, take a zip tie and zip tie it to this or whatever so it's secure. But once you have that, then we can go ahead and put that in once we get everything zip tied. But now that we're good to go there, now we can go ahead and test this. So now all we've got to do is press this little button right here and we're going to test it. So let's see if it works. And here we go. Okay. And just like that, guys, we have a working Power Frunk. Now all we got to do is pop our trunk. And there we go. You have a working Frunk. Now let's go ahead and put everything back together the way it was. And we're done. So let's get to it. Well, and there you have it, guys. Our Power Frunk install is complete, and as you saw, the process really wasn't all that difficult. Once you get your power struts installed, everything else is really just plug and play, which makes this process really easy to do. So if you've been thinking about doing this upgrade and you just haven't been sure whether or not you could tackle it on your own, then let me be the first to tell you, you can definitely do it. So go ahead and head on over to teststudios.com, order your Power Frunk today, and don't forget to use my discount code Mr. C. Melendez so that you save on that purchase and on any Tesstudio purchase, because they have a large variety of parts and accessories for all Tesla model vehicles. But anyways, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What did you think about this upgrade? What did you think about the install process? Do you feel confident doing it? I'm always curious to hear your thoughts, so definitely sound off in the comments so that we can get the conversation going. And if you enjoyed this video, guys, please consider subscribing to the channel, and don't forget to hit that little bell icon so that you're notified when I post my next Frunk Club video. Anyways, guys, as always, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you for hanging out with me here today at the Frunk Club. Till next time. Oh yeah, that looks good.